Welcome to Small Biz Life, episode 140, Spring Cleaning Your Busy Work. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. You're thinking like, oh, so you want me to clean my office? Like, I'm going to create some busy work. What are we doing? No. We're not creating busy work for you. We're actually trying to eliminate some of your busy work.
Yes, which would have been very helpful this morning as I was sitting there trying to plunge through work and Kristen's coming down like, hi, starting a podcast right now.
Yeah, and we want to use as a launching point to start a challenge. So we're going to be running a challenge starting Monday, May 21st, which is the day this episode goes live. But if you're listening to this later in the week, that's just fine. Because you can join us, at any time during the 30 days. But if you join us at the beginning, you'll get the full benefit of the 30 days. So we're going to be talking about tools and tips and all sorts of things to help you do this. But in this episode, what we wanted to do is we wanted to talk a little bit about how to get the process started.
Yes.
Because I don't think a lot of people realize how much busy work they've created in their businesses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, we just spent time during tax season. I was kind of trying to eliminate stuff as I was going because Kristen was very busy trying to get stuff at the business point ahead with the new baby. Makes it all complicated. And then when it ended, we actually sat down and started going through our major things and saying, what are all of the pieces and putting it all together to try and figure out what we're actually working on, what really moves the business forward, and what is there maybe has to happen or maybe doesn't have to happen, but could potentially be causing us to waste time.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are really, I think that there are 5 key steps that you need to look at if you're going to do this. And we're going to talk about each one of them, but it's identify, eliminate, batch, delegate, automate. Okay. Those are the 5 steps, and we're going to talk about each one of those. So the first step is to identify. And so, I think the best way to do this, and you need to be looking at your life and your business, because I think that there are things that we do in our lives and our businesses that are considered busy work. Those could be tasks that you don't like to do. They could be tasks that you're doing just because they're kind of habit and you've always done them. And so, a good way to do this is to start on a Monday, right? Which is when the challenge is going to start. Start on a Monday and really keep track of what you do during the day. Even like the little things that will take you away from your desk or will keep you from doing the things that you say you want to do. One of the great ways to do this is to download the Daily Focus Planner, which if you don't have the Daily Focus Planner, you can go to smallbiz.life.com/focus and get our free Daily Focus Planner. Is what that allow you to do is allow you to write down your business to-dos for the day, your life to-dos for the day, and then keep track of everything else that you're doing. So it's a really good use, I think, for the Daily Focus Planner. But really keep track of what you're doing, because that will, by the end of the week, you're going to have a lot of insight. So, a couple things in our lives, in our business, we noticed how much time it was taking for Jeff to do everything podcast related. We have 2 shows that come out of this, that come out of the business every week. And so the podcasts were taking a tremendous amount of time for him. We found that doing like curriculum for the podcast and for HQ was taking a long time. Cleaning out our email boxes was taking a really long time. And the thing is, the thing I noticed is like we were missing important emails because there was so much crap in there that you kind of look at it real quick and go, oh, that's crap. And, you would miss out on important emails. So if you kind of look at where you're spending your time, what you're doing, and write it down, and then start to identify things that you think are causing creep in your business.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think one of the biggest things is sometimes we're forced to make shortcuts and do things when we're starting something new. We're trying to actually get a handle on everything. And then what happens over time is even if we have the ability to eliminate it, it becomes ritual. And rituals are kind of good things in a way. They it's almost muscle memory, but it still takes time to go through them. So it's really important once a year to kind of go through and spring clean what you do. That way you make sure that you're not wasting your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things that I'd like you to think about too, as you're kind of going through this process, if you blog every week or you do a podcast every week or you do YouTube videos every week, write down your process, from beginning to end. So you need to brainstorm a topic, you need to record if it's a video or a podcast, you need to write it if it's a blog, you need to edit it either way, no matter what you're
Mhm.
doing. You need to create graphics for it, you need to create a description. Think about all the things that you have to do and write all of those steps down, because that will also give you a lot of clarity. We did that for the podcast. Actually, Jeff did it. And he kind of sat down and said, okay, these are all the things I do. And it was kind of eye opening, like all the steps to creating a
Mhm.
podcast. Um, so
And some of
once,
them were very small, and some of them were larger. But the point is, you got to see all of the pieces, how they interact with each other. Because if you just spend a day going through it and saying, "I'm doing everything for the podcast. I'm editing the audio. I'm writing a post. I'm creating graphics." Your brain is being used in different ways and going in different directions. And I think when Kristen's talking about batching, once you start identifying those processes and understand the order which things need to happen, you can actually pull stuff out and do a whole bunch of editing on one day, a whole bunch of post creating on another day. That way you're doing similar types of tasks. It's easier on your brain.
yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk more about that when we get to batching. Okay,
Hmm.
so now you've got all this stuff, right? You've got all these things, and now you want to think of one of four things to do with them: eliminate, batch, outsource,
Hmm.
or automate. So the first one is eliminate. What are you doing that is just not serving you well? It's not serving your customers well. It's not serving you well.
Hmm.
It's not serving your family well. Those are things you want to eliminate. So, um, some of the things that I've eliminated, I have been really diligent about unsubscribing to things in my email box.
Hmm.
So eliminating things out, eliminating subscriptions we have to things. First of all, it saves us money and it saves us time. Um, looking at services we don't use. We had some old like hosting accounts that had like one or two websites on them that we moved those over. Now we've eliminated that. So it's one less thing we're paying for. So kind of go through and think about what can you get rid of. Um, I think as business owners, I think we consume way too much because we're afraid to
Hmm.
act. And so we use consumption and overconsumption as an excuse to not act. And the more of those things that you can eliminate, I have gotten out of Facebook groups, I've gotten out of Facebook pages, I've stopped following people, um,
Hmm.
just in an effort to eliminate, kind of everything that's coming at me.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a wonderful thing to do as you're spring cleaning your busy work.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And it's simple things too, where it's like, I do not go into my news feed for Twitter or for Facebook at all during the day. I do occasionally at night, but I find I don't use it very much anymore. I do go into groups, I do interact with people, but I do not very often use my news feed.
Mhm.
So, that's just, but it saves from so many distractions at one step during the day. It's so easy to get caught into Facebook and go down that rabbit hole that if you don't go in with intention, like a man shopping for Christmas, you're going to get stuck in every store trying on every piece of virtual clothing.
Another thing that I'm doing is I am getting rid of apps on my phone I don't use. I'm turning off notifications for things during the day. Um, I'm turning off notifications just kind of in general. So that way there aren't things popping up on my computer all the time to, to distract me
Mm-hmm.
from what I need to be doing. So think about what you can eliminate. I'm getting off of mailing lists. I'm getting off of, like anything that we can um, get like electronically as far as bills are concerned instead of getting mail, because the whole thing of, just think about how much like clutter mail brings into your life, right? So you have to get it from the box, you have to go through it, you've got to determine what's junk, what are you going to keep, what do you have to shred, what are you going to deal with later. It piles up on your desk, it creates, something you've got to do later. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of like all my bank statements are electronic. All of our bills are electronic. Things are on auto pay. That's something you can eliminate. If you're paying a lot of bills, that takes a lot of time. Um, and so I am just boom, boom, boom. I'm getting that stuff out of my life so that mentally I don't have to deal with that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The one last thing that I would encourage you to eliminate is if you've got clients or you've got vendors that are taking up mental space, that are causing you headaches, that are not respecting your boundaries, you need to eliminate those as well. You need to get rid of those contracts. You need to, politely, step away and end those contracts.
Mm-hmm.
I typically find that, 20% of your clients are going to cause 80% of your headaches.
Mm-hmm.
And so those clients, it's amazing, if you get rid of one of them, how much better you'll feel. And
Mm-hmm.
then you'll kind of be encouraged to get rid of more of them.
Yeah.
So I know some of you have like retail spaces and it's really hard for you to do that. Um, but certainly, in your online interactions, you can absolutely do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you've
And
got
if you're service-based too.
If you're service based, you can absolutely do that. So, think about not only what's taking up your time, but also think about what's taking up your mental capacity and what can
Mm-hmm.
you eliminate from that. Okay,
Yeah.
so you've looked at all your tasks, you've eliminated things. Do you have anything else you'd like to eliminate while we're talking about that?
I think for me, the biggest thing is you kind of stepped into, which was the distractions. But for me, it's going through the work that you have to get done, whether it's your bookkeeping, especially your bookkeeping, because I hated doing bookkeeping. But if it's your bookkeeping or if it's um, transferring information from your blog post to your social media or whatever, finding simple ways to automate those types of tasks that are very quick to do, 1 or 2 minutes, but
That's
very
number 4.
distracting on the brain.
That's number 4.
Where it, I'm sorry.
You're getting ahead. You've talked about
So
batching, you've talked about automating.
yeah. So
Okay.
for eliminating, it's really it's those little tasks, that just eat up so much time, and it takes a few minutes to log in somewhere and do something, and they'll log in somewhere else and do something.
Okay. So, and we'd love to know, those of you that are watching live, if there's anything that you have eliminated, batched, outsourced, or automated in your business, let us know in the
Mm-hmm.
comments, because we got a bunch of people who are also watching us live. So that's awesome. Okay. So now let's talk about batching, and we're big fans of batching. So can well, can you talk a little bit about how you batch things in relation to the podcast?
Yeah, so I split up the podcast in a couple different parts where there's audio editing, and I kind of like to do that at the end. And I'll take all of the things that need edited, and I go through, I process what I need to, I insert what I need to, and I essentially, one after another, I just start knocking those out. And then when I get one done, I can start uploading that to where it's going, and I can start processing through the next one. So it's like, so all of the audio editing I like to kind of put off on itself. Writing and graphics I also like to split apart. So I usually do those together because it's like when I'm in the thought of what episode it is, I like to create a graphic for it. But, just, a quick write-up for the episode and prepping it to get meta tagged into my audio once it's done. And I do like to do all of those steps in a day as well too. And so it's like a bunch of like administrative writing tasks. And then also because of the creative stuff, it's like I like to have a week that I'm working on the creative stuff as well too, to where it's like I can just focus on creating, because that's obviously like one of my favorite things to do.
Right. And for this show, one of the things that we do, so around the last week of the month, we will brainstorm out all the topics for the episodes that we're going to do for the next month. And typically when we do that now, we use Kajabi for our blog. If you use WordPress, you can do this in WordPress. But instead of like writing down what we're going to do, like on a piece of paper or in Excel or the calendar, I will actually create the posts for each of the episodes that we're going to do. So I'll just write the episode number and a title, and I'll write some notes in there. So because what was happening, we found, is that like we would put notes, but then we'd forget them, or we'd put it in Trello and we'd forget it, or whatever. This, if it's in the blog post, this is typically what I use when we record the show. So
we're both in it right now.
Right. So we're both in it right now. And if I think of something, I can add it in. Or if, we think of something we want to link to, we can put that in. But this is, instead of like creating a document and then going back and creating notes, just brainstorm it out here. Just don't publish it, right? You can do that in WordPress. You can do that in, wherever your blog is. Just don't publish it. So
one of the things I like to do with that too is I actually like to set the date it should publish when I create it. That way it's sort of like a reminder whenever I'm in there to see that's the date, and those are sort of drop down deadlines for us. So I think it's a good step to do that too, because then you can kind of see what's coming up, how far out you have prepped. Like the end of this week, we have to do our episodes for next month.
Yeah.
Except we know we have one that might come out of order.
Yeah. So, so we've got, right. So that's already set up. So that's a huge time saver for us. So we'll do like 4 or 5 episodes, depending on how many we need for the month. And just notes, like don't write out the whole post, or don't do out all the show notes, just enough so that you know what you're doing for the idea. So what we did for this one, like when I looked at it, when I went in this morning, it said, look at all your tasks, eliminate, batch, outsource, automate. That's what it said. So it was like the 5 steps. And so, I kind of had to go through and put in a little bit more, but that's, we did that for 4 episodes in, I don't know, 30 minutes, maybe. It was a really quick process when we did it last month. So that's one thing. So we do the 4 episodes. Then what I do, because we do this live with you guys on Facebook, I go into Zoom and I create, it's actually, most of it is just copying at this point. I will just copy to create the webinars, right, in Zoom. And so that takes, I do all of them for the month. We schedule everything out. We open up the calendar. We look to see, are there any conflicts? When are we going to be able to record? I put those into Zoom. Then once they're all in Zoom, then I go into Facebook and I set up the events for the month. If you guys have a retail location, you're doing classes, you're doing any sorts of events, you've got to get those in Facebook. And we did a whole episode on that and why that's important. But I will tell you, every single week I have, hey, this friend is going to this event. This friend is going to this event. And I go, ooh, that sounds cool. I'm going to go too. And so if you want to make your events, seen by people, you've got to be using Facebook events. But so I create all the Facebook events. Go ahead.
And to say at this point too, they have better visibility than just write something to put it on your page.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you write something and put it on your business page, it might or might not get seen. If a couple people see it right away and react to it, it might get seen by a little bit more. Events are open. Sometimes people are searching for them. If their friend goes to it, a lot of times friends have similar interests. So, it's a great way to get a little more visibility right now than you can with anything else on Facebook outside of paying the money.
No, absolutely. So, So we create the Facebook events, and I do those in a batch. That probably takes me, I would say Zoom and Facebook probably takes me probably 30 minutes a month, because I do all the
Mm-hmm.
Zoom and then I do all the Facebook. So that's pretty quick. So if you kind of think about, if you're in a system, right, stay in that system. And the thing that I found is if we're kind of looking a
Mm-hmm.
month ahead, we're not running into issues where, oh crap, we said, we were going to do it at this time, but we didn't look at the calendars. It's very rare that we have to reschedule podcast recording. So, I think that
Mm-hmm.
it's really important, if you do things in a batch and you do them a month ahead. I also have to say too, I think it's reduced a lot of stress for both of us,
Mm-hmm.
because we know what we're going to record. We know, we have a basic gist of what the outline of the episode's going to be. Everything's good to go. And, by doing this, and I think one thing that we didn't talk about in eliminating, when we decided to record the podcast live, we eliminated most of the editing for it. When we decided to do HQ, which is our monthly membership service, we decided we do that live as well. And
Mm-hmm.
not only do the members like it because they get to interact with us live every week, but it eliminates a lot of editing for Jeff.
And we have the side benefit of it's better customer service. It's actually more tailored to the people interested in the specific topics too. So it's really in a way better customer service on top of it. So it's really a huge win both ways, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so identify your tasks, see what you can eliminate, see what you can batch, and then next, see what you can outsource.
Mm-hmm.
And this is on the home side and the business side. It's funny. So one thing I told Jeff I wanted for Mother's Day is I wanted a regular cleaning service. And so it was funny because he went out, he got quotes, he handled all this himself. It was pretty awesome. And it was a lot less expensive than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually, so I think we're paying about $110 a week to have somebody come every week.
Mm-hmm.
So if you kind of think about that for a second, if you're cleaning your house on a weekly basis, how long does that take?
Yeah.
Right. I would imagine that you probably lose a whole day cleaning your house.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine if you could recover that day for $100 a week. That's craziness.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolute craziness. We have a service. Actually, one of the reasons we were a little bit late today was because our lawn mowing service showed up about 20 minutes before we were going to start recording, and they finished up,
a few minutes after we started.
But we pay about $60 a week for that. So, if you kind of think about, if you and your spouse, or, maybe it's just you doing all this stuff, if you're mowing your lawn and cleaning your house, you're probably losing 2 days a week, right? Or both you and your spouse are losing a day of the week. So for about $170 a week, we've recovered 2 days.
Yeah.
And
I
for
really
us,
think that's 20 hours. I look at it. It's 20 hours we just saved.
Right. And the way that I look at that is, that gives us time to actually relax.
Mm-hmm.
That gives us time to do things we want to do. That gives us time to work on the creative things that we love to do, that we could not do if we were spending that time cleaning the house and mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
Plus, if you think about what you spend on cleaning supplies and gas for the lawnmower and maintenance for a lawnmower and just having a lawnmower, they take care of all that stuff for us. We don't have to buy any of those things.
Mm-hmm. And we actually had we have a relatively large yard, so we had a riding lawnmower, which died hard. And that's when we started the service, because we looked at it, we're like, for the price of this a week, it's going to take 4 years for that lawnmower to become cheaper than paying someone to do it. Mm-hmm. Think about that. 4 years of me riding around, and that doesn't count my time. That is the price of the lawnmower. So especially if you have a big yard and you get someone to do it where it takes years for the lawnmower to pay off and you save time. I mean, those kind of things become a no-brainer.
Yep. And so we're also starting to look at what we can outsource in the business. We had Michelle Lowry on the podcast a couple weeks ago to talk about what virtual assistants can do for you. If you did not listen to that episode, check out episode 138. Because I think that'll give you some ideas of things you can outsource in your business. But even things like, hiring somebody to handle your email, right? And going through everything and figuring out, okay, you know what, you don't need to look at this stuff. These were simple questions. I handled them for you. These are the couple emails you have to deal with. I mean, just think about how much time we spend in our email boxes every day, And so, kind of think about like, if you had a wish list, like what would you want to outsource? Because we even outsource things like, like we have, if I can have it shipped to the house, I will. We do some grocery shopping, online, and somebody does the grocery shopping for us and then brings it to the house. So, we use services like that. Even like, it's funny thinking about batching, like we'll even batch errands. So typically like I'll wait till the list gets to a certain length and we get to the point that there's like a must buy item that we have to get. And then we will go, then we'll go to the store. So even like batching, batching your trips.
The purchasing of yellow mustard.
Jeff has this obsession with yellow mustard. I'm not really sure what it is, but we have ample yellow mustard. Don't worry. We're good. Don't worry. Okay. So you've eliminated, you've batched, you've outsourced, and the next thing to look at is automation. It hurts my brain when people don't value their time. Because I talk to a lot of small business owners who will say, well, I'm not willing to pay $30 a month for QuickBooks Online, even though I spend 4 hours a month on my bookkeeping because I'm manually entering all my transactions.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, so you don't think your time is worth $7.50 an hour? That's
especially if you're a service provider. When you're a service provider and your time is billable, one thing is like when you work for someone else and your time is billable for them, they try and get all of the non-billable stuff out of your time. You should be that same boss for yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny because for QuickBooks, we pay, let's see. So I pay $19 a month for Sush.io. That's the thing that brings in all of our Stripe transactions for Ingram Digital Media. And then I pay another $30 for QuickBooks Online. So I pay about $50 a month for QuickBooks Online and Sush.io. But what that does for me, so if you think we've got transactions coming in from Stripe from smallbiz.life, we've got Stripe transactions coming in from Accounting and Focus. We're soon going to have Stripe transactions coming in from Gardul. Okay. So we've got 3 different businesses with all the detail and all the Stripe stuff coming in. $19 a month automates all that for me. It puts in what they bought, who bought it, and it makes the deposits for me for $19 a month.
Yep. The thing is too, as I say, the thing is too, it also allows us to know who our best customers are. Who we need to spend more time with and reach out to, on a more personal level because they do more business with us. And the larger your business becomes, the harder it is to track that. So if you can't track that, you're not only hurting your short term by not having the time to put towards your customers and billable hours, you're hurting your long-term ability to deliver customer service.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I really want you to think about, what can you make investments in to save yourself time in your business? I'll tell you that the $49 that we spend on QuickBooks and Sush.io every single month, I said this before on the podcast. I'm going to say it again. our bookkeeping for 2 businesses, and this is everything. This is bookkeeping. This is making sure everything's reconciled. This is making, getting the sales tax done for Ingram Digital Media. I do all of it for 2 businesses in 30 minutes a month. And I could only do that with these automation tools that we have.
Yes.
If I'm sorry, but if you don't think, that your time is worth $12.50 a month, we have a problem. And this is something that you really need to look at.
And I think too, I think a lot of people who have that mindset are the same people who have trouble closing deals where they're charging someone over that amount for their services. So if you're, charging 20 or 40 or $60 or more an hour, and you don't value your time worth 12, and you're trying to sell the value of your time at more than 12, I think a lot of times people have disconnects there, and it ends up making it more difficult for them to close their own deals because they don't really value their time at that much. And so they're not sure that someone else should.
Well, it's interesting though, because as we started automating things, Jeff had a really hard time when he had his first business charging for his services and charging what he was worth. And I think that once we started outsourcing things and automated things and paying for services, and he kind of said, wait a minute, yes, my time is worth something, right? My time is valuable. My time, is worth what I'm charging for it. And it caused a major shift in his ability to say, this is how much I charge. And if you're not willing to pay that, that's okay. But this is what I charge. And I noticed you're not doing like well, let me see what I can do. Well, let me see how I can discount that. Like, you don't do that anymore.
No, especially not for the time. I mean, I have plenty of ways to spend my time now. If you don't want to pay me what it's worth for me to not do the other stuff, then I don't have to, and I'm by no means the most expensive person out there, but I'm probably more expensive than others, but I bring different types of brains to the game.
And that's the thing. And I think once you become comfortable with these things, you really start to say, okay, my time is worth something, and my time is worth what I charge for it. And so I'd love for you to get comfortable with outsourcing things, automating things, and embrace what your time is worth. Because that scarcity mindset is going to kill your business every single time. Because, we can't do it all. We just can't, and I think as we're starting to go through this, we just outsourced the funnel for accounting and focus. We're working with an awesome woman, Pamela Dale, who is just a rock star. She continues to impress me every single time I talk to her. Because she thinks of like everything like 20 minutes, or actually days before I think of it. Like, she's just like, oh, look, no, it's all set. It's there. Wow. So she just impresses the hell out of me. But like, just seeing like what she's doing for us and the value that she's bringing, and going, you know what, this is not my strong suit, right? Strategy is my strong suit. Helping people run their businesses better is my strong suit. Educating people is my strong suit. Building funnels, not my strong suit. Writing sales copy, not my strong suit. So why should why do I spend my time, bashing my head against the wall trying to make this work when it's something I'm not good at, when I can go do things I'm good at? So I want you to kind of, as you're going through this, go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's a no-brainer, because once again, this goes back to the same argument. We go into business because there's a certain thing about our business that we love, and then, it's either due to the budget when we start, or it's due to just our inability to let go of the control, which is, I think, the other major thing. Those are the two major things that cause this issue. Those two things really stop us and hurt us from being able to focus on what we're good at, and the thing that will attract people to us, and the thing that will allow us to serve our customers at the level that we should.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree with you. So, we'd love to have you join the challenge. You can go to our Facebook group. You can go to facebook.com/groups/smallbizlife. Or if you're watching from the Facebook page, if you're not in the group, you can join from there. It's connected to our page. Um, it'll also be in the link to the show notes. For episode 140, you can go to smallbiz.life/140. That will be up on Monday, the 21st. But we'd love to have you join us for this challenge. I think it's going to be eye opening for a lot of you to see what you can actually, declutter from your busy work. And we're also going to work on things like mindset, um, so that you can embrace giving things up. So I'm super excited about this. I think it's going to be awesome. And we hope that you think it's awesome too. So thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next time.